thing you're going to do. Everyone, welcome to today's Pet Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Roberta Westbrook, and you're here with us at the Campus for All Animals, the Houston SPCA. Thank you every week for joining us. We're so happy to have you. We encourage you to come on down to our campus, visit our adoption center, and continue or consider taking a pet into your home. We have dogs and cats and puppies and kittens available for adoption. And I want to introduce you to our pet of the week this week. Our pet of the week is Harley. Harley is such an adorable, sweet, sweet girl. She's about 1 year old. She's a shepherd mix, and Harley is really sweet. She loves attention. When you first meet Harley, she likes to be slow to warm up to you, but she really warms up quickly. She's really a sweet dog. So please come on down and visit her and all of the other dogs that are in our adoption center. We still have a special where if you notice on our website, any pets that have a VIP symbol, those dogs, their adoption fee is 50% off. So come on down and take a look. We are also happy to help you and find a pet that's going to match with your home. Now, we have an important topic to talk about. We talk about it every year around this time, but it never gets enough attention. It's critical, and that is protecting our pets from the weather during the summer. Summertime in Texas can be a beautiful time. We spend time with our family. We spend more time with our pets. We're going outdoors. But today I want to talk about some dangers about having your pets out in the summer heat for too long, things to be aware of, and what do you do if you get yourself in a difficult situation where your pet may need emergency care. So what questions do you have about being safe with your pets during the summertime?
So how do we know it's too hot for a pet?
Yes, that's a great question. So how do you know when it's too hot for your pet? One thing is to consider is ourselves. So if you're going outside and you're noticing that just being outside for 2, 3, 4 minutes, you're already beginning to sweat, you're already beginning to feel a little bit uncomfortable. Sometimes even in that short period of time, you can develop thirst. If that's occurring in you, you can be pretty sure that it's probably occurring in your pet, and you're going to need to take some precautions about having your pet out in the sunlight for an extended period of time.
And what is the main danger that's associated with this heat in our pets?
So the main danger associated with being out in the heat during the summertime with your pets is a life-threatening condition called heat stroke. So what can happen is our pets need to be able to cool themselves down through panting. And when they are out in the sunlight for too long, sometimes they're not able to cool their body down fast enough to battle the heat that may be beaming down on them. They need to be able to get rid of that body heat. And sometimes it's just too strong. Their body can't keep up. So there are a couple of things that you need to do to prevent this. Number one, try to take your dog out during the early morning hours or late in the evening. The benefit to this is, again, it's cooler. The sun is not at its highest peak. You're going to be able to enjoy your walk for a little bit longer without as much risk. The second thing that you need to do is if you feel like it's getting a little bit hot outside and you're not really sure about taking your pet out, always make sure that you're carrying some way to have access to water. So you can go to a pet store, you can purchase collapsible water bowls that are made out of plastic or soft fabric. And when you open those water bowls, you can easily fill them with water, carry bottled water with you. And then the third thing that you can do to check to see if it's safe for your pets to be outdoors is to test the asphalt. So test the concrete. If you're going to be running or walking on concrete, what you can do is take your hand, put it on the concrete. If you're having difficulty holding your hand in place for more than 7 seconds, it's too hot. It's going to be too hot for you. It's too hot for your pets. Those are some precautions that you can take because we want to prevent heat stroke.
And then what are the signs of heat stroke?
If you are concerned that your pet is experiencing a heat stroke, these are some of the things that you may want to look for. Number one, it's normal for your pet to pant. It's normal for dogs to pant when they're outside and exercising. You might notice that if they're getting heat stroke, that they're panting much more heavily. So now their panting is really heavy. It appears labored. Their tongue might hang further out of the mouth than normal. Sometimes the tongue will curl at the end. Sometimes it hangs out to the side. If you notice that your pet is drooling and the drool becomes thick and foamy, that can be a sign. Pets may become disoriented. So when they get really hot, they begin to get a little bit weak and disoriented. Pay attention to that. And then finally, in some severe cases, if we don't catch it early, pets can become very lethargic. They're laying down. They don't seem to be comfortable, and they can have vomiting and diarrhea. So these are some early signs. If you're noticing those signs, we want to help you to take those next best steps.
And then what should we do, or what's the safest way to cool down a pet?
So if you're wanting to cool your pet down, step number one is get them into some air conditioning. So if there's a building nearby or a car that you can turn on and put on the air conditioner, that's going to be the best thing. Get them out of the inclement weather. And the next thing is, if your pet is alert, if they seem like they can ingest water, offer them some water. Get a bowl, put some tap water in it, offer them water. It does not need to be ice cold. It does not need to be freezing. It just needs to be room temperature water. That's going to be the best thing for them. Then the next thing that you can do is, if you have water, you can put it on a towel and you can wet their coat. Wetting their coat, especially if they're in an air-conditioned area, can actually help to evaporate that water, and it can help to cool them down. So wetting their hair coat can actually help them. What you do not want to do is submerge them into ice water or very cold water, which, you may think that that's going to help bring the temperature down. It's not the right thing to do, particularly because the very, very cold ice water will cause their blood vessels in their skin to become narrow. They will constrict. And when that happens, that actually causes the body to hold in more heat. We need the blood vessels to dilate so that heat can be released from the body. So we want to do it gradually, and we want to do it right away as soon as you are noticing that there are symptoms.
And then when should we take the pet to the vet? And what can the vet do to help them cool down as well?
So if you're doing all these things that I just mentioned, and you're noticing that your pet is not making a recovery, and by recovery, I mean the panting should slow down, they should become more alert, they should become more active. Maybe they have had some water, and so they are not drinking as much water. If you're noticing that they're seeming overall comfortable, you may be okay. If they're not responding, they're continuing to be lethargic, they can't seem to get comfortable, they start the vomiting or the diarrhea, take them to the veterinarian. You should see some improvement within about the first 5 minutes of getting them into air conditioning. If you're noticing that's not happening, take them to the veterinary hospital. The veterinarian will take their body temperature and check it. If that body temperature is over 105 or higher, we usually say this pet is experiencing heat stroke. When the temperature gets to be 107 and greater, we get very concerned about organ failure. We get very concerned that the liver and the kidneys are really suffering and could go into organ failure. So take your pet to the veterinarian right away. They're going to take a body temperature. They're going to do more intense cooling methods, like placing an intravenous catheter and delivering intravenous fluids. That can help. They will also do blood work to check the function of the organs and make sure that those are staying healthy. And they'll probably keep your pet hospitalized for a day or so, maybe longer, if those symptoms are terrible.
And then if our pet is drinking, a lot of water, obviously trying to cool themselves down as well, is too much water dangerous for them as well?
Great question. So if you've offered your pet water and they're drinking a lot of water, be careful with this. I would give them small amounts of water frequently as opposed to letting them drink large amounts at one time. That can trigger vomiting itself too. So sometimes they drink too much too fast, and it can actually cause them to start vomiting, which can make them feel even worse. And we don't want to do that. So if they're thirsty, it's good that they will drink. Give them small amounts, but give them breaks in between.
And then how fast can heat stroke, occur? You talked about the raising the temperatures from 105 to 107, that drastic change, or like, especially if we say, oh, we're just going to put them in the car, for 5 minutes, I'm just going to be in and out. But how fast can it actually occur?
Yes, this can occur fast. Number one, we don't ever want you to leave your pets in the car, especially with the car turned off, the windows up. It becomes like an oven in your car, and the temperatures can rise very quickly every minute. So it can be a matter of minutes when your pet can experience heat stroke. I recommend that if you're outside with your pet in extreme heat, especially if they don't have access to the shade, that you take breaks about every 10 to 15 minutes. Get them into some shade, help them to rest, give them some water. When you start getting into the 20 and 30-minute exercising outdoors without shade, you can start to see some symptoms of heat stroke in some pets relatively quickly.
And then you talked about the asphalt being hot as well, and how we can make sure that it's safe. But how can we treat if we do notice paw burns?
Right. So the asphalt, if your pet is running or playing on the asphalt and they suffer from paw pad burns, what that means is the bottoms of their paws do have like a thick keratinized layer. It's like a callus, but it is susceptible to heat. And if they're on the heat for too long, that callus will begin to slough or to come off. And what you'll be left with is paw pads that are peeling, that are red, that are raw. They can be very painful to the pets. So how might you notice? One, you might notice because you physically see it. Maybe they're in the car or they're laying down and you can see that. You can see the paw pads sloughing. But also your pet may begin to limp because they are painful when they're walking on those raw surfaces. And then sometimes they will even bleed. So seeing that there are little bloody paw prints could be a clue as well. If you're noticing that, take them to the veterinarian, because your veterinarian is going to want to do several things to treat paw pad burns. One of them is to bandage them. You need them to be softer. You need some protection. So bandaging is important. Then, because the paws are on the concrete and there's lots of bacteria and debris that can get there, veterinarians will oftentimes put your pet on antibiotics. And then sometimes topical salve or solution that can keep the paw pads clean and help those burns to heal is going to be important. So if you're noticing that, get your pet to a veterinarian and they can give your pet some medication to help them feel better.
And does age or breed play a factor in how dogs are able to cool down their bodies?
Absolutely. Some breeds of dogs and conditions of dogs, health conditions can affect their ability to cool themselves down. So let's talk about breeds. Dogs that have very short faces, muzzles. So we're talking about pugs, bulldogs, Pekingese, maybe Shih Tzu. These dogs, Boston Terriers, they have a much shorter muzzle. And the problem with that is as they inhale air, there is not as much room for their nasal turbinates, these systems inside their nose, to cool the air. And so they're inhaling very hot air and it's being distributed throughout their body. Dogs with longer noses have an opportunity for that air to be cooled as it gets to the body. So dogs with short noses, we call them brachycephalic dogs. Dogs with short noses, and even cats as well, like Persian and Himalayan cats, are going to be much more susceptible to heat stroke. Now, what other conditions will make animals prone to heat stroke? One, being older and overweight. So if you have a pet that's geriatric or a pet that is especially overweight, those pets may have a little bit more trouble regulating their body temperature, especially outside. And pets who have not been exercising much of their life. So, if they've kind of been couch potatoes and now it's summertime and all of a sudden we want to take them outside to play Frisbee, well, their body may not be acclimated to the heat and the level of exercise that they're going to be doing. and that might be a risk for them to become overheated as well. So make sure that you're paying attention, that you're doing what's appropriate for your pet so that we can keep them safe.
And speaking of like different breeds, Huskies and German Shepherds come to mind in this Houston weather. Should we shave them down? I feel like that's our natural instinct.
Oh, absolutely. It's our instinct that we think, okay, if I have a dog with a thick hair coat, I'm going to want to shave them because maybe they're big and fluffy and, I'm going to want to shave them so that they have a short hair coat, but it's not recommended. Please don't do that. Don't shave those coats. So the hair coat on a dog is twofold. It does help to stay warm in the wintertime, but even in the summertime, that undercoat, they will shed the undercoat themselves. So a lot of these dogs with double coats or thick coats, they will shed some of that undercoat.
And you will see it along your living room.
Oh, yeah, that's exactly right. Thank you. You'll see it. You'll be doing much more vacuuming, much more cleaning. So they'll shed more, so they help themselves. And then the hairs that are left actually help trap cool air close to the body. So they have natural mechanisms to help them be able to survive these sorts of extreme heat, but we still need to take proper precautions. Another danger with shaving your pet is cutting the hair too short. So when you cut the hair too short, now the sun is going to really be piercing down directly on their skin. You've given the sun a direct path to their body, and it's going to potentially put them at risk of heat stroke faster than if you had left the hair long. Contact your family veterinarian and or your family groomer. They will have a good idea about whether or not you can just give your pet what's called a summer cut. A summer cut is where they may be able to just trim the surface of the hair, but not cut it so short that now there's more direct access to the sun on the skin.
And on the flip side, if we have a breed that's very short hair, like a Chihuahua, should we be applying any type of sunscreen, or is that needed?
Great question. We put on sunscreen to protect ourselves from the sun. This is absolutely possible for your pets. So if you have a pet with very short hair, Chihuahuas, or maybe a Chinese crested that doesn't really have any hair at all, or you have a dog that is non-pigmented, a white dog like a Maltese or a bulldog, the dogs that are white, they are also more prone to sunburn. Dogs with pink noses and pink paw pads, those pets might experience sunburn. So can you use sunscreen? Absolutely. You may wonder, well, what type of sunscreen? Try to use a sunscreen that's made for pets. So you can go to your local pet store. Generally, the SPF is around 30. So try to find some like that. And then generally, you just want the sunscreen to be something that's protective for them, that's safe for pets. And you can certainly put it all over the body, especially where the hair coat is very, very thin. So absolutely a great idea. Sunscreen can really help to protect your pets from sunburn.
And when we cool them down, can we offer them ice cream or ice? Any special treats?
Sounds delicious, I know. And so ice is okay. I think ice is fine. Ice cubes that they can lick that will last a little bit longer. I think that's perfectly fine to do. You have to be careful with products like ice cream that are made from lots of sugar and lots of milk products, because sometimes that could just upset their stomach. It's not likely going to be toxic, but it may cause a little bit of an upset stomach if they're not used to it or they eat too much. But certainly ice crushed, in small little bits might be a nice little treat for them. So I think crushed ice is fine.
And then a big question we always get is, what can the public do if we see a dog that's in a hot car?
Oh, great. So we see this a lot, especially in the summer, where unfortunately sometimes animals are left in the car. Again, we do not want you to ever leave your pet in your car. It can get really dangerous. Sometimes even systems that you have in place to protect your pet may go awry. So don't leave your pet in the car. If you see someone who has left the pet in the car, you're going to want to naturally try to save the pet. You may think that I'm going to, break the glass or try to, pick the lock to get inside. Don't do that. Don't do that, especially here in Texas. So in Texas, it's illegal to enter a car unlawfully by breaking the window or breaking the lock in order to save a pet. If you're living in another state, please check your state laws. There are some state laws that may allow for that if the pet is in a life-threatening situation. but here in Texas, you cannot enter a vehicle illegally. So please call law enforcement. You can also call the Houston SPCA here at 713-869-7722. We can send ambulance drivers out there. We can send our animal cruelty investigators out there, and we can help to legally enter that car safely. And so please don't take that on yourself. We want to make sure that you don't get yourself into the trouble, that we can also get the pet the help that he or she needs.
And are there any laws for dogs that are outside in the backyard as well?
Right. We do have what's called the Safe Outdoor Dogs Act. So the Safe Outdoor Dogs Act requires that if you have a pet that is outdoors, that they have proper access to drinkable water. So they need to be able to have proper access to water, and they need to have food, and they need to have shelter, and they cannot be tethered inhumanely or tied inhumanely to where they cannot get access to these things. So it's absolutely important that if you have an outside dog who spends a good amount of time of their day outside, that they can get to shade, that they have shelter, and that they have access to fresh drinkable water. If this does not occur, certainly there could be a situation where you're cited for animal cruelty and can suffer repercussions of that.
And that's good to mention, like shade, because we might think, we leave the pet in the shade, but then the sun moves. Yes. People don't think about.
That's exactly right. The sun moves throughout the day. And so your pet may be in the shade in the morning, but by noon, the sun has moved and now your pet is exposed. Make sure that they can always have access to proper shelter, no matter where the sun is, and always be able to access fresh drinkable water.
And again, what can we do if we see a situation like that where we think a pet is in distress and in danger?
Yes. If you're seeing a pet in distress, in danger, please don't hesitate to call us. You can call our call center. We will get that call to the appropriate department, and we will send someone out right away. Unfortunately, we have already seen an increase in these types of cases. So in the last month, we've now had at least 3 cases of animals that have been left in direct sunlight without access to food, water, shelter, and those pets have suffered from heat stroke. So it's important that if you're noticing a pet in distress, that you can give us a call. We'll send someone out. Again, our number is 713-869-7722. We have a 24-hour rescue ambulance who can come to the pet's aid. We also have animal cruelty investigators who are working all day, every day to make sure that pets are staying safe and healthy. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us, as always, here at the Houston SPCA. I'm always happy to give you tips about keeping your pets healthy and safe. Don't hesitate to come on down to our adoption center this weekend. Bring your family, bring your friends. We'd love to see you. Visit our website as well, houstonspca.org. Consider ways to join our extended family. We always would love to have you as volunteers, as fosters, or as someone who would like to donate to help us to continue our mission. Thank you again, and we will see you next week. Come visit Harley.